Hi, this is Lindsay Allison bringing Trump Strategies for Real Estate by George H. Ross to Toronto by G.S. Mahar and Emerson Rose Events. I'm speaking with Calvin Strachan, one of the speakers for the morning breakout portion of the event on June 20th. Thank you so much, Calvin, for being here. We're really excited to have you today.
Thanks, Lindsay. Appreciate this.
Yeah, and we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about running one of the biggest power groups in the world, if not North America.
Yeah.
And what your experience with Anthony Robbins is, and what inspired you to start the power group.
Okay. Do you want to take the...
Sure.
Okay. So for me, I've been a Tony Robbins fan for years, probably going back maybe 20 years, actually. And I had the experience of meeting him maybe 10 years ago. I was in Australia at an event for his event, and had the chance to actually be coached by him directly. So I was in the room, 2,000 people, we're all listening, taking notes, and all of a sudden he calls on me and my now wife to share during the event. So when that happened, I was kind of, blown away. Because here's a guy who's been on television coaching Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Bill Clinton, you name it, and I'm being coached by him directly. So I was kind of like, this is incredible. And so we had 4 hours together, he and I was just blown away. And he made me one of the figure pieces of the event.
Wow.
So when the event finished, I had coached by him for 4 hours. I went home, got a call saying, hey, Cal, guess what? Tony's going to give you a coach for free for 3 months.
That's amazing.
So I had him on stage one-on-one, face-to-face, and then we were actually worked together with a coach afterwards. So I thought, wow, I'm getting so much generosity from this guy. He doesn't have to do this, and people spend millions of dollars to work with him. I have to give back in some capacity.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question, the power groups are basically formed by people who have gone to see Tony Robbins or Jack Canfield or Robin Sharma, you name it, one of the gurus in the industry, and they sort of teach those techniques in different cities around the world. So it's New York, Toronto, London, England, you name it. So in Toronto, they have a power group, and I was told to go to sort of keep this passion, this momentum, this energy going. So I go to this event. I'm thinking, okay, great. It's Tony Robbins. It's going to be lights, and it's going to be people, energy, and thousands of people. It's going to be amazing. It's in Toronto. I can't wait. Yeah. So I go to this event, and I show up at Tim Hortons, right? And there's 5 of us in the Tim Hortons at Richmond and John downtown. I thought, wow, this is a little bit less than inspiring. So I thought, I want to take it to the next level. I've gotten so much from him. How do I do this? So I took over the group, became the director, and started to create my own events. And so I tried to do exactly what he had done for millions, which was make a space and an environment where you can go to improve your life, whether it's your career or your finances or your relationship or your health, whatever it was. And so I had the music and I had the stage and I had professional speakers come in, and I made it accessible to anybody in Toronto. So back then, that was 5 members in a coffee shop. We now have over 2,500 members. I think our average events are around 100, 120 people that come out. It's just been a phenomenal turnaround.
How do you deal with naysayers in your life? I'm sure you've come across that a few times.
Usually it's a big stick. No, I'm kidding. So naysayers are tough. It's part of reality, right? Because a lot of times when you're going for a big goal or a big dream, there's no proof that you can make it happen around you. So it really comes down to that inner resilience, that self-reliance to make it happen. So for me, it's a lot of state. You've probably heard this term before, physiology, focus, and language. A lot of it's identity, right? And so what that means is the way you see yourself. So sometimes you're going for a big goal, it may be more than what you currently are. Meaning, you're maybe a little scared, a little timid. I don't like to ask for the order. I don't like to get into confrontations. But to be a top salesperson, you sort of have to say, hey, do you want to buy this? So who do you have to become to make that reality for yourself? So I'm dealing with a naysayer. I don't necessarily focus on them, because wherever your focus goes, your energy flows. I'm sure you heard that phrase before too. So I really concentrate on my identity and who do I have to become to overcome that negativity to get to the next level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Cool.
It really does. And have you always considered yourself an entrepreneur, do you think?
No, to be honest, no, I haven't. Mainly because early in my sales career especially, risk was kind of uncomfortable for me. So the idea of I have to then go out and make the money, create the business was sort of off-putting. But as I got going with the power group, got going with some of my own coaching and speaking businesses, I thought, you know what? Yeah, I am an entrepreneur in the power group. Because in the power group, when I started, I still had a regular job at the time. And to make people come into the room and fill the events and bring the speakers, that's very much entrepreneurial. Yeah. But I really saw myself as someone who was serving versus someone who's like a business guy. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
What gets your butt out of bed in the morning? You have to be in state. You talk about that a lot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think nowadays is my daughter, to be honest. Yeah. right? So it's a strong reason why. So when I'm coaching folks, and myself included, it's usually the deeper values, the deeper sense of reasons why that move us. And that's kind of an overused cliche phrase, but with a strong enough why, you can overcome any how. So I get up usually at 4:30 in the morning, that I'm off to the gym by 5:30. And a lot of it is I want to be a better example for her. So when time comes, she's like, wow, my dad's doing this. This is amazing. And so I see it for myself and see it for my clients is where if you're not following through or not getting your butt out of the bed in the morning, it's because we're not touching into those deeper values, right? What's really moving you deep down? If I can trigger those, I can get you going pretty quickly, pretty fast. Yeah.
So a lot of people say that the how doesn't even matter. If you know your why, then that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to tell us about being a Tony Robbins coach now?
Sure. I've been with Tony now for about almost 2 years. Okay, now I've been associated with them indirectly through the Power Group for a number of years, but I'm officially part of the roster now in the last 2. It just made sense to join the group, because I was with the Power Group for so long, and I've been sort of indirectly supporting them for no money, by the way. Right? It was zero commission. I don't get any kickbacks. I'm not here to take money from him because he's such. I just want to give out of service to him, and so it just made sense after this long of supporting the city to take it to the next level and join as a coach. So coaching with them, it's been phenomenal. Because I get obviously training by the company. I also get to coach people from all over the world. So whether it's Australia or China or Thailand or Toronto or Vancouver, it's everywhere. And it's funny when you're coaching different cultures, the same things still show up, right? I coach guys who are working on Wall Street. They make $100,000 a month, right? And then I've got people who are housewives living in California who make nothing in a month. Right, so it's just funny how the same sort of patterns show up as far as how do I get to that next level. And not to make light of being a housewife or a mom, but it's like the same stresses apply to her as the person who's in Wall Street making $100,000 a month. Yeah. How do I get to that next level? And so working with Tony, get that exposure, and it's phenomenal to be able to help people create those breakthroughs. Okay. It's really great.
Do you find that there's a common theme or a common challenge that comes up frequently?
Yeah. So on my site, you'll see the quote that I've put for myself is that if things are going to change for you, right, you have to be willing to change your mind. A lot of people come on and they go, I want to make $1 million. I want to find my new boyfriend, my husband, my wife. I want to get pregnant. I want to start the new business, but they want to maintain their certain mindset. This is how it has to be. Well, just by physics, you can't get there. It's like if that thought pattern worked, you'd have that result. So we have to be willing to actually shift our mind a little bit to create a possibility to create the success you're looking for. So an event like this, the Trump Strategies event, it's fantastic because Trump is a great story, right? The Guinness story of him being $9.3 billion in debt and then being the biggest turnaround in financial history, that is incredible. So to be around people who are committed to that is phenomenal. And it's totally a change in mindset to be part of this.
Yeah. And I'm sure it took you a while to come up with those techniques yourself and to learn how to deal with all these different personalities.
Yeah. So. Well, it's for sure. Before joining Tony, I had to become certified as a coach first. Okay. Right, so I'm ICF certified. Right, so I had to have over 100 and something hours of training people face-to-face paid in order to actually have the credibility to use them on my website. And so you do get exposure through them as to how to handle different mindsets. And then on top of that, I've got all of Tony's training as well. Right, and then of course all my hours on stage with the Power Group, working with rooms and rooms and rooms of people from all different countries. The biggest test for me was I was probably 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years ago, I was in a room full of interpreters. And so it was 60, 70, maybe 100 people. And honestly, they all spoke different languages. Wow. So I was kind of out of my depth, right? It was 100 people, all different languages, and I still get the room to rock. How do I do this? Right? And so it's just that practice, that understanding, who do I have to become? Or make this room work. If Tony can do it, if Donald Trump can do it, George Ross can do it, sure, I can do it too, and probably you can too. It's just changing that mindset to get there. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think the one last question that we had was, how was this something that you always wanted to do?
It was.
Yeah.
Yes and no, right? Because I would say yes. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor. And the big thing was I'm going to become an actor and go out and tell the world how to live your dreams, right? That was the thing. And so I was kind of an actor-ish, right? Starving artist type thing, actor, go Degrassi, woo, right? So it was fun, but the problem was I didn't get to the Denzel Washington phase. Right. However, did I have to become him in order to help people live their dreams? Not necessarily. Yeah. So I did know that I wanted to actually do this part of it, was to get out there and help people, encourage them, be the catalyst for change for them. So it's always been a part of my mindset since I was probably 10, maybe 11 years old. Yeah.
Wow.
for sure.
So this is something you always wanted to do, something you thought about, but not necessarily this path.
Exactly.
Right. Could you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the Anthony Robbins Basket Brigade?
Sure. So it's not necessarily mine. It started with Tony Robbins. Okay, and so I now support it here in Toronto. And basically how the brigade works was when he was young, I think he was 10 or 11 years old, didn't have a lot of money, and someone came to their house and brought them a Thanksgiving dinner. And Tony came to the door and saw this guy with this basket of food and was, oh my gosh, right? And so the guy says, here's your food, sir, 'cause we know you're struggling. And his stepfather at the time sort of slams the door on this gentleman. And the gentleman who's holding the basket kind of puts his arm and leg in the door and sort of blocks the door from being shut. And Tony's watching this whole thing at 10 years old thinking, oh my gosh, what's happening? And so then the man says, listen, don't be so prideful to hurt your family, right? And so he throws the food in the room. And the dad's like, whatever, and slams the door, right? And so Tony saw this whole thing go down and thought, wow, people cared enough about us, even though we have this challenge going on, to bring us this amount of generosity. He's like, one day I'll do the same for them. And so, fast forward 7-8 years later, he took food to his first family who was 18 or 19 years old, right? And that's grown, I think, to over 3 million families now, or 8 million families they field worldwide. And so we do the exact same operation here in Toronto. So what we do is we feed families who are struggling at Thanksgiving by bringing them a Thanksgiving meal. So in there, they'll get a basket, they'll get a turkey, they get potatoes, corn, bread, the whole deal, for families who can't necessarily do it on their own yet. And so the last couple of years we've been doing it. The first year we had like 60 families. I think last year we did around 80 or 90 families, and just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. So the first year we were covered on CTV, and last year we were covered on Global. So it's actually, we've had a major impact here in Canada with that brigade. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of success for us too here.
How can others get involved with this?
Yeah. So on the website, TorontoPowerGroup.com, as we get closer to Thanksgiving, you'll see postings go out. And so people can donate money. And the thing is, it's not just about the money. So a lot of times people couldn't give us money. They simply came to pack baskets or to deliver food, right? So it's just some way being able to contribute in some fashion. Now, some folks, of course, did give quite generously. I'm totally appreciative of that. But it's not just about the money. It's about just being able to contribute in some capacity to help others who couldn't necessarily do it for themselves. Yeah.
Don't forget to plug into GeorgeRossLive2015.com. Check out Calvin, check out the Toronto Power Group, and we'll see you at the event on June 20th.